Hello, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of High Flying, the podcast made for the fans.
By the fans.
As always, my name is Nolan, and my bespectacled co-host is Mr. Jude Wessel.
How we doing, people? I can't see a fucking thing right now, but we'll fix that.
That's okay. You don't need to see to discuss. And let me tell you, I got some discussion topics today, Jude. You know what? You know what it makes a good classic movie?
Many factors, many variables.
Many factors, one of them being you need a really recognizable, timeless movie title. I feel like every classic, even if I haven't watched it, I've at least heard the titles. And you know what a great classic title is?
Far away.
You ever heard of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?
Of course.
Yeah, well, I feel like last week in the sports world, we had some good, some bad, and some ugly. And I'm gonna let you decide where we start this one, Mr. Wessel. Do you want to start with the good, the bad, or the ugly?
I mean, I feel like everybody says one. I mean, great name for a pod right there. He just named this episode right off the bat. But let's go with the bad. You always want to get the bad out of the way first.
Okay, you know what's bad? Florida Panthers fans.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a bone to pick with the Florida Panthers fans because last week I tried to give some sympathy, I think as did you, but more so me, to the Montreal Canadiens. And everyone in Florida, I'm getting all these comments. Oh, what about Florida? What about Florida's injuries? First of all, relax, okay? Like we understand Montreal's not the only team hit by the injury bug. My point being was that they were all top players. In Florida, you got like Dmitry Kulikov, good defenseman, not a top four guy, right? Like you got Jonah Gadjevich, who really cares? Itulu Starainen, busy burning himself barbecuing.
That's a big
Yes,
one though. That's a big one though.
fair. Yes, Matthew Tkachuk and Alex Barkov are out, but you also knew that going into the season, right? Like it's not like you just got hit with that. You were aware you were going to be without these two guys long term. And there's also other teams that are dealing with injuries right now. We mentioned the Canucks last time. The New Jersey Devils are having a tough go of it, although Jack Hughes got a girlfriend out of it, so maybe it's not the end of the world. Um, but my point being, it's not all about you, Florida. Okay? If you are a fan within the last 10 years, don't talk to me. Because you know what happened between the turn of the century to the COVID bubble? You made the playoffs twice. Okay? Florida was a garbage franchise. They had like 700 people in their building. Like, yes, they're not the only team that had attendance issues. Okay? I get it. Winnipeg has attendance issues, but there's like 800,000 people in Winnipeg. In the greater Miami area, there's 6.2 million. Okay? So you guys are winning now. You're being successful. I'm not hating on your success. I want Florida to be successful. I even said too in previous episodes when we talked about it, I think Florida's winning uh, 5 championships in 6 years with the way this team is structured. You know, this may be the year that they don't. All I'm saying is you guys need to relax in Florida and stop being like, oh, we're so hurt. You guys are the cup champions. You figure it out. You know, I don't like that. I don't like the Panthers fans. Y'all are a bunch of bandwagoners. And we'll see once you start losing again in 10 something years when all these contracts are over, how many of you are still going to be showing up to those games. And you know what else is stupid? I just want to say having a winter classic in Miami, that's done. Florida can participate in a winter classic. Absolutely. I actually kind of really like the jerseys, to be honest. But don't be telling me, oh, this is a classic event we're having in fucking Miami where it's like palm trees and sunshine. So that's the bad is the Florida Panthers fans.
Damn, you came out swinging on this episode. Were there that many Panthers fans in your DMs in the comments just hating on your takes?
There was a lot of comments. Everyone's like, oh, well, because I said, Montreal, they've been hit the hardest with injuries. Everything's like Florida, Florida, Florida. You get an occasional like, what about the Canucks? But it's like, I get it. Like, once again, Barkov and Kachuk, two best players on the team. Those aren't guys that got injured throughout the season. You know you weren't going to be going into the season with them. Also, you brought this point up actually too in previous episodes. When you go to a cup finals twice and you play that much hockey, battle of attrition, you expect your team to slow down a bit. So, in the full context, maybe if these people listen to the full context of the episode, we're talking about is Montreal a legit team? We already know Florida's a legit team. We know Florida's good. We know Florida is capable of recovering from that. So maybe before people start typing in the comments, they should listen to the full context of the episode.
Let it be known, people, no one keeps receipts, all right? If you're gonna make some statements, you gotta back it up. But yeah, I kind of agree. It does bug me how many teams in the last few years that play in non-traditional markets have had massive success. I get it. It's good for the game in one sense. It gets more people into it from different places, but I'll be honest, any place that cannot like physically cannot have ice form in the state, winning a Stanley Cup does kind of rub me the wrong way. Like I would much rather see a place that's a hockey market with people that live and breathe hockey win it. Because like you said, Florida, I think they have most of their core signed through like 2030, 2031 season, which is awesome for them. Awesome. But let's just see if the Panthers don't go to the finals every single season, what happens to their attendance and how many people are showing up. Because we've talked about it a lot. If you don't have a downtown arena, that's working against you in a big way in terms of fan activity, people coming to the games, and Sunrise is nowhere near like Sunrise, Florida, where the Panthers play is nowhere near downtown. So I understand it's a trek for a lot of people that are living in downtown to go out to those games, but they're a fun team to watch, even with all the injuries. I think they're still a fun team. They've got good players. They play well structurally. They've had Paul Maurice there for a couple years now, but yeah, it's a bit of a weird matchup in this Winter Classic, Florida and New York. I like both teams' jerseys. They both knocked out of the park, to be honest. I think it's gonna increase the amount of Panthers fans crying for the old logo to come back, which I'm not mad at, to be honest, if they keep these same jerseys with that old logo, because I do really like the style of their current jerseys, but the logo is a bit KHL-y, so I wouldn't be mad at them bringing the logo back.
You know, that's one thing. Florida's always had really nice jerseys. Even like the reverse retro jerseys where they had like the light blue and like the circle with the palm trees. That was a pretty sick looking jersey. Their other reverse retro with kind of had the navy with the old school Panthers logo on it. Uh, this Winter Classic. It just sounds so stupid to say we're having a Winter Classic in Miami. Like, I don't get it. Like, if anything, use that to Florida doesn't need your help. First of all, they have a bunch of bandwagon fans. Honestly, a lot of credit I want to give to Matthew Tkachuk because not only is he a great player uh, on the ice, he's one of the few big personalities that we have in the National Hockey League, and I'm sure a lot of people have been drawn to this organization and their fan base because of him. So huge credit to Matthew Tkachuk. But you don't have to worry about taxes there. You have your core locked up. You just won two Stanley Cups. We don't need to grow the game in Miami. Once they have a bad team, it doesn't matter how many Winter Classics you put there. I guarantee you there's going to be no fans in that building. I would rather see a Winter Classic go to kind of like an up and coming team that you want to build kind of a fan base around or like re-inject some energy into that franchise. I think Philadelphia right now would be an awesome place to have a Winter Classic just because they have a young team. You got Zegras, Michkov, bunch of other guys out there. They're slowly turning into a team that can compete for the playoffs. They're a franchise that's gone through a lot of losing, worst goaltending tandem in the league last year. That fan base has had some tough times of recent, and I would try and build up the excitement and energy around that team. Maybe you don't throw New York in it because there's already been outdoor games with Philadelphia and New York, but I could totally see Philadelphia being a more suitable place to host a Winter Classic game.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I think everybody in the hockey world would have been down for a Battle of Pennsylvania Winter Classic again. You got Pittsburgh surpassing expectations this year, finding their place amongst the league's I don't want to say contenders, but amongst the league's better teams. They're very competitive, winning a lot. And then Philadelphia, like you said, they're up and coming. They got a new coach in Talkett. They got Zegras, who's having a massive bounce back year, almost at a point a game. So that would have been really cool to see. I do understand from Bettman's perspective and from the league wanting to capitalize as much as possible on Florida's recent success and just bringing as much new and interesting stuff to the market as possible. But it is odd branding, like Winter Classic, and you're going to a place that's sunny 365 days a year. I mean, I shouldn't say that because they get storms and rain and all that stuff, but definitely no snow. It's not a Vancouver or an Alberta or a Illinois winter down there in Florida. But I do understand them going down there. I think they do have a unique opportunity in Florida to take a market that's been there for a long time and kind of had middling success or no success for a really, really long time and take them from that to a place that has enough core fans, kind of like LA. They're not the biggest hockey market in the world, but they've had enough success. They had Gretzky, they had a couple cups where they do have a solid, loyal fan base. It's never going to be the biggest fan base in the world, but they've got enough of a foothold in there over the years to make it sustainable, and maybe that's kind of what they're trying to do with Florida. But I agree, the Winter Classic is a little bit played out and tired anyways. It's been here for a long time, and there hasn't really been a lot of classic ones recently. So I think the more that they give it to markets that aren't really diehard hockey markets, it kind of just increases the apathy from most fans in terms of the Winter Classic.
Yeah, and I think, maybe they kind of ruined it or watered it down with introducing the stadium series. I don't think we really needed more than two outdoor games a year, right? Like you had the Winter Classic, which was traditionally always American teams, and then the Heritage Classic, which was usually always Canadian teams. And as the years went on, they've kind of mixed the two. Like we had a Detroit Toronto matchup one year, but thinking of LA and just in the name classic matchups, how fun would like an LA Edmonton outdoor game be? Like that'd be sick. I think, there's
Well, it'll be pretty fun for
two
Edmonton
Gretzky
considering
teams.
they absolutely own the Kings in recent years. But yeah, that'd be cool.
They've been decently long playoff series, It's
Yeah,
been competitive.
they all end the same way. Ken Holland jumping ship and going to LA, seeing if he can change the tide a little bit. But yeah, I agree with you. The Winter Classic at this point never really gets me too fired up. It's kind of there's so much going on around New Year's with the World Juniors and everything else that's going on in the world around that time. So I don't know. It's kind of like I wonder if they're ever going to get to a point where they say, "Okay, maybe we take a break from the Winter Classic." Probably not because they've done it for so long. But
They probably make too much money off of it. And two, the one thing you got to think about too with the Winter Classic, every time you release a new jersey, there's people that go out there and your jersey sales are skyrocketing because people want to get their hands on that.
true. I think Utah would have been a good pick this year for a Winter Classic. I think you got a new fan base, a better team this year than they were last year. They're super invested. I think that would have been a really good opportunity to give it to a new franchise that's kind of resurrected one in the Arizona Coyotes that was just dormant and absolutely brutal. So they would have been a good pick in my eyes.
I think you give it to Utah next year. I agree. I agree. Utah would be a great pick. Salt Lake City, they're a winter sports town. They have Park City, which I believe is just north of Salt Lake. They've hosted the Olympics before. I think you do it year only because you had kind of the Utah Hockey Club jerseys. You just released the Mammoth jersey set with this proper logo. Wait another year to release a Winter Classic jersey. So it's like one new release each year. Keep the fans spending their money throughout an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's a good point. It'll be interesting to see next year if they do go that route because that's a good play marketing wise.
Now we can go to the good and the ugly, or two other points I actually wanted to bring up have something to do with the World Juniors and or World Championships and another team in Florida. So should we stick with the relevant teams or should we go back to my opener?
I like the opener. Let's hit me with the ugly.
Okay, okay. So the ugly is this is my favorite thing. I think Michael Bublé might be my new favorite hockey celebrity. I don't I don't know. He's just a funny guy. I remember he was busy doing shrooms at the All-Star game. Not that we encourage any use of paraphernalia, but he's just a fun guy. Good for the camera. I don't think any celebrity on inside sources of any team, because chances are the inside sources and an analysts know more information than that celebrity does. However, the funniest thing to me is Michael Bublé's busy calling out Frank Saravalli, telling everyone that Frank isn't a true uh, inside reporter for the Vancouver Canucks. This would make me really concerned because Frank is the one who reported that sources within the team say that Quinn wants to be there. So Michael's reaction to me tells me that he doesn't think that Quinn actually wants to be there. And I think this situation can turn ugly real quick.
I respect the hell out of Michael Bublé, one as a musician, but two in the sense that he's just a diehard Canucks fan. If you saw his appearance on Donnie and Dolly shout out after he made those Instagram comments, he laid it out pretty well. Obviously, he has ties to the team. He knows a lot of the star players, has relationships with them. He has a relationship with Francesco Aquilini, which is probably going to impact the way he views things. But for the most part, what he said, I understand it. There is a lot. There's a very vocal minority in terms of Canucks fans that are just ridiculously negative all the time, regardless of what's going on. Um, that being said, I do disagree with his take a little bit. I don't know. I think there could be light at the end of the tunnel, which is what he said he sees if current management makes the right decisions going forward. But what they see as the right decisions going forward and what Francesco will allow are potentially very different. And based on the history of this franchise, um, not often has ownership been willing, or I guess never has ownership been willing to grant management the ability to tear it down and kind of restart, which is what I think it would take for this franchise to find itself in a successful place again. In terms of Quinn Hughes, Elliot Friedman said again today that it's nobody's let the Canucks know from Hughes camp that he wants to be moved. Officially, Dollywall has said that maybe around Christmas would be the time that Hughes gets moved if he gets moved this year. I don't I don't think that's going to happen. There's too much season after that where the Canucks need to sell tickets, and if you get rid of Quinn Hughes, I think it's going to be kind of panic in this market for a bit, regardless of what the return is.
I for sure think you have to wait until the deadline or at least close to it. Like traditionally, we've seen a lot of trades maybe not happen on the deadline, but within a 2 week time frame previous to that. So my guess is that 2 week window right before is what you're looking at for a Quinn Hughes trade.
I agree, and I think that's the smart move. You have to keep some veterans because you can't have all these young guys coming into just a barren locker room with no experience and just losing a million games a year. But yeah, I think the writing's on the wall. As much as this Canucks team, I give them credit. They play hard. They don't quit really in many games. They put forth a good effort, but it's just the way the lineup's constructed right now. It's not a team that has a chance to do anything in the playoffs. If they could even sniff the playoffs right now, they're near to the bottom of the standings. The penalty kill's atrocious. The defense has been a question mark all season. So I think if Quinn is going to get moved, it is going to be around the deadline. Like you said, this year, I don't see any point in waiting and losing leverage. As much as it's going to hurt, I think it is kind of the route they need to take. So Buble, I respect his fandom. He's been a Canucks fan a lot longer than I have, and obviously he knows his stuff about hockey. He had a really good quote. He said, "I don't know everything, but I don't know nothing about hockey," which is kind of how I feel. And so I respect his opinion, but I think most Canucks fans who don't have a foot in the building and don't have personal relationships with the team and ownership and management, definitely feel differently than he does.
Fair enough, fair enough. And you know what? The trade that I've seen, which I'm sure everyone's seen it floating around, would be assuming everyone's healthy, Simone Nemec, Dawson Mercer, and a first. I couldn't care less about either of these two teams. To me, I'm like, sure, that might be the best you can get on the table because I think of it from the standpoint Jude's giving me a look right now. I think it from the standpoint too is that other teams, the longer this drags out, other teams get more and more buying power, right? Like if you trade Quinn Hughes now, this is the highest his value is going to be. But as soon as it comes out publicly that he wants to leave, which may not happen, but I think people are assuming that that's going to be put on the table. Or as soon as Jim Rutherford says we're hearing options for trading Quinn, that leverage comes down immediately because that tells other teams I can potentially wait and get him in free agency a couple years down the road. I would probably do that trade. The look you gave me was a no. I assume you want a second pick or a younger prospect in there, but take me through what you think would be an acceptable trade for Quinn if he gets moved but sometime between now and the deadline.
So I 100% agree with you. They need to move him this season if that is going to be the direction they go, because you can sell to teams. Not only do you have him all of next year for your whole season and playoffs, you have him this year for playoffs. So that's a massive advantage. It gives the Canucks more leverage. The trade that you just said right there, I think is massively underwhelming because one, the first round pick isn't going to be worth that much, assuming New Jersey finds their way into the playoffs. Simone Nemec, we're good, honestly, on defense. Like our top end D prospects are pretty solid, and Nemec doesn't move the needle that much for me. Dawson Mercer, New Jersey, has been trying to move for a long time. I don't know if they've actively been trying to move him, but his name is always in rumors for trades. And I think if there's one thing you don't want to do, it's give Quinn to the one team that every single fan in this market is going to be like, are you serious? Like, are you serious? Like, you just let him walk right to the team that everybody knows he wants to play for, should he get to free agency? So I agree. Before the deadline is the time to move him because it gives you more leverage, but you need to get at least multiple picks, a young prospect high up in the team's depth chart. I don't want a guy like Dawson Mercer who's been on the NHL squad for a while and hasn't popped. That's not enough. For a guy like Quinn Hughes, this is a top two defenseman in the entire world, and you need to secure at least multiple picks, one of the team's top two prospects, and maybe also a roster player if you're going to move him. For Canucks fans and people around here to see it as a win.
You know what? That was very well said. I can't argue with any of that. I think I'm on board with what is required out of that trade. Okay, and that just leaves us with the good. And let me tell you, if you are a sports fan, it is going to be a good weekend coming up. Ladies, just letting you know, you're probably not going to get too much out of your husbands. I imagine they're going to be glued to the TV. Um, any female sports fans will also be glued to the TV because let me tell you this, not one, but two championships being decided this weekend. We got college football on Saturday, NFL football on Sunday. You gave me a look. Am I wrong? Is college football not on Saturdays?
No, no, no. It is on Saturday. It's just definitely not the like final of the whole thing. But I feel like
No, no, no. That's not
getting
the
somewhere
finals.
else.
That's not the
Yeah.
finals. Yeah, we're going somewhere else with that. College football on Saturday, NFL football on Sunday, 2 days full of hockey. But on Saturday, we have the MLS Championship with your Vancouver Whitecaps. Then you do it all again on Sunday. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where three drivers can win the World Championship for Formula One. It's going to be a packed weekend. I don't. Maybe we'll just go chronological order. We got the Whitecaps taking on Inter Miami in Miami. You know what Miami is? It's a soccer town, not a fucking hockey city. Um, but either way, Lionel Messi going up against Thomas Mueller. The last time these two met in a final, I believe, was 2014, and we all know what happened then. Neither of them scored, but Thomas Mueller's side prevailed victoriously with an extra time goal from Mario Götze. So the question is, will Messi lead Miami to victory? Will Mueller lead Vancouver to victory? Or will somebody emerge as the Mario Götze of the MLS?
I'm pretty fired up, to be honest. I can't say I've been a massive Whitecaps fan over my life, given the fact that they haven't given us a huge amount of success and things to cheer for. But this year, I mean, what a squad. Looking back, what a move from the Whitecaps to get Mueller to come over here. I think he totally changed the vibe of the team. They were cooking pretty good anyways, and then he came in and it's like, wow. Not only does ownership believe in us, like we got this guy now. that completely just controls the game. And what they say about him is that he might not be the flashiest, might not score the most goals, but he just directs traffic. Like everything on the pitch happens according to what Mueller wants to happen in terms of offense. And yeah, like you said, last time he played Messi, he was victorious. The Whitecaps have beat Inter Miami 3 times this year. That being said, Inter Miami has changed things a bit since then. Suarez is now coming off the bench, which has allowed them to play with more speed, which suits their game a little bit better. It makes any time that you hear, your team has beat this other team you're playing for a championship or a big game multiple times, that makes me nervous just in terms of how sports often work and how hard it is to beat the same team over and over again. But I'm pretty excited for this game. I think all of Vancouver is very excited for this game. To have a winner in Vancouver, regardless of the sport, would just be massive. Change people's mindsets, get us a little bit more into soccer, especially with the World Cup coming up. There could not be a better time for the Whitecaps to really be galvanizing the city. And there's not many MLS teams in Canada, so probably galvanizing multiple provinces and cities in the country, getting us prepared for soccer. So it'll be a great game. What hurts is that if the Whitecaps would have acquired one more point in the regular season, not only would the championship game be in Vancouver at BC Place of 54,000, the game against San Diego would have also been in Vancouver in front of 54,000. So that hurts a bit, but if they can pull it off and bring a championship back to Vancouver, I think everybody's going to be a-okay with whatever the circumstances are.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute party. Vancouver has been long starved for a championship. I don't necessarily count the BC Lions. So just kind of looking at the major sports leagues that transcend both Canada and the United States, which is really only the Whitecaps and the Canucks. Also, I was kind of referencing to the 2014 World Cup final in Brazil. It was Germany versus Argentina. So obviously, this is not on that same level, but Thomas Mueller in the MLS and internationally has a great record going up against Lionel Messi. So hopefully that persists. And I agree. Like, it's just a fantastic move by management. I don't think any team can go wrong with having a guy like this on their bench or in the starting 11, even if he didn't score a single goal. He's a World Cup winner, record setting goal scorer, Champions League winner. That just changes the culture and the trajectory of a whole locker room in any sport when you have a guy it's not like he's just won in MLS. This man knows how to win and how to lead in the biggest stages in the world, whether that's at the World Cup or in the Bundesliga. So all in all, can't go wrong with having Thomas Mueller on your team. I'm very excited for it, hoping for a Whitecaps win on that one.
Yeah, and whichever way it goes, obviously we're cheering for the Whitecaps, Vancouver-based podcast, but for the MLS, this is as big a win, I think, as they could have hoped for with having multiple superstars come over this season. You're going to have most of Germany watching this game, I would assume, based on their love of Mueller, and rightfully so. And obviously, you're going to have all of Argentina and most of the soccer world focused in because Messi is in the game as well. So whichever way it goes, I'm sure it's going to do massive numbers for the MLS. Good thing all around, and yeah, go Whitecaps. Really hope you can pull it off. I think they need to do exactly what they did against San Diego, if possible. Strike quickly, get ahead, and then kind of dial it back, hold the fort. Don't let Inter Miami use the massive offensive weapons that they possess, um, and that hopefully should go well for them. But yeah, as a Vancouver citizen, I hate to admit, but I do have a bad feeling about this, just based on how most sporting events and finals go in this city. We probably are going to lose, which sucks to say. I hate to be a pessimist, but given Vancouver's track record in finals, I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence, but I'd love to be proven wrong, obviously.
I'm going to go the other route on this. I'm going to say Vancouver's going to win. Yeah, Miami has Lionel Messi. Edmonton had Connor McDavid. Look where that got you, you know? So I also kind of look at this too. The biggest thing is going to be the mental preparation, which I think a guy like Thomas Mueller can also help with because Lionel Messi is arguably the best soccer player of all time. Obviously, he's not in his prime right now, but he's still playing at an elite game-changing level, and he can turn an MLS game on a dime. So ideally, if you're Vancouver, you want to lead the whole way. But say Messi scores I think the big thing is going to be the response to that and really how they band together if they face some adversity early on in the game. I will say too, just a little random shout out for people who don't necessarily follow the Whitecaps. Yohei Takaoka has been absolutely phenomenal for Vancouver in goal this year. He's an MLS All-Star. So if you're looking for a dark horse silver bullet in this matchup, it might be the Whitecaps keeper.
Hell yeah. So all in all, go Whitecaps. We hope you can bring it home. And next podcast, we're ranting, raving about the day that was on Saturday and the fact that Vancouver's a city of champions finally in something that matters.
That's
Uh,
right.
I guess, do you want to take it into, obviously you're much more knowledgeable than me on the Formula One championship here, but if you want to lead us into that, feel free.
Ooh, what a good last couple races. To be fair, not a whole lot of overtaking, but like I am genuinely amazed at how good of a driver Max Verstappen is. Like he was clocking times equal to the McLaren's last race in arguably the worst Red Bull car he's had since his time there. And to come from Oscar Piastri having a 100 point plus lead in the World Championship to going down to a final race for Verstappen, I believe, is only 12 points behind Lando Norris. Absolutely incredible. Now, 12 points is still a fairly big gap. Even if Verstappen wins, I believe Norris needs to finish fifth or lower. Ethan can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what would be required. McLaren has absolutely blown this to my disappointment because I am a McLaren fan, but the racing fan in me is like, holy shit, we got a championship because this should have been over a long time ago, at the very least in Vegas. You have a double disqualification in Las Vegas for the McLarens. They don't get any points. Um, they were, I believe, is by millimeters over the regulations. But still, rules are rules. You got to stick to them, whether you construct your car a millimeter off or not. And then last race, early safety car. I believe it was lap seven. I want to say lap 7 or 8, early safety car. The entire field double stacks and pits behind them, or the entire grid. I guess it's not a field in Formula One. Everyone pits except McLaren. They stay up. The fuck are you doing, guys? Terrible, terrible strategy management. I feel bad for Lando Norris if he doesn't win because he has the right to probably sue everyone in that organization if he doesn't because they just cost him a world championship. But I've always said this, Lando Norris does make a lot of mistakes throughout the season. He's a very poor starter throughout the season. We saw Max get ahead off the start last race, so he does do it to himself a little bit. But the racing fan in me, super excited. It's still all up in the air. Verstappen can come home with his fifth championship. I'm sure that would make Mike very happy. Um, all in all, it doesn't get better than that. That's the downside with having a season where you got like 24 races or a finite number of races and you're going on a point system. If the season's over in Brazil or Vegas, you're going 3, 4 races at the end of the season that don't really matter. Where every race this season mattered. So I love it.
I gotta say, I recently watched the F1 movie with Brad Pitt, and that did kind of fire me up a little bit more, watching the real F1 towards the end of the season. Speaking of Mike, my father, biggest F1 fan on the planet, I feel confident in saying that. He was bummed out for Norris. He was bummed out because in his mind, this is his words, this might be his only chance ever to secure a driving championship. Obviously, he's not the best driver on the grid. I think everybody's pretty clear in their assumption that Max is the best driver on the grid. But Norris has landed himself in a position where he's got the best car. He's a good enough driver to get it done. It's just this race. Can he put it together enough to hold Max off and get it done? And my dad was also saying that it's kind of, if McLaren ends up winning the Constructors' Championship, but not the driving championship. It's more just of an embarrassment. It's like, how the hell did you get the constructors and not have a driver pull off the drivers championship? So as much as we love Max here, Dutch heritage, salute. But I think it would be a good story for Lando, somebody else, to find a way to get the drivers championship and secure that. So I'll be tuned in. I don't say this often. I'll be tuned in to the F1 race coming up here, and hopefully they can provide some fireworks and they can come down to the wire.
Yeah, and I think like I could see how they don't have the championship locked up in the sense that Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are essentially two number one drivers, so they've kind of split points off of each other. That's just poor strategy management by the team, and if you watch the races even from last year, we kind of all knew that McLaren was going to get themselves in trouble with that. I think it was I want to say it was the Hungarian Grand Prix or the Belgium Grand Prix, one of the two, either one where they made Oscar and Lando swap the cars right at the end of the race. I think Lando was ahead and he didn't want to give it back and he finally gave it back at the very end. But you can't mess with the drivers or try and keep things fair when there's only 20 cars on the grid, and these are two world championship caliber drivers. However, I kind of agree with Mike's point. Like, I think this is as close as Lando's going to get. Last year, I said if Lando won, he would be the worst driver to ever win a championship just because he made so many mistakes and he lost so many laps off the start. Um, this year, I think it's really even. Next year, McLaren, if they don't win, they can't make the same mistakes. They're going to have to choose a driver to prioritize, and I think it's going to be Oscar. He's a little bit younger, and personally, I do think Oscar is the better driver out of the two. The thing with him is where he fell off. Once things started going wrong, it's really hard to keep that confidence and regain it once he lost it. And he kind of had his swagger back in Qatar the other day. But as previously mentioned, McLaren just blew that strategy. But I think a new season, a fresh reset, Oscar is going to be a really hard driver for Lando to beat in equal machinery. So I wish Lando the best as a McLaren fan. I hope he does it this year. On the other hand, watching Max, it's kind of one of those things where, like, it's almost like Tom Brady, but it's not, right? Like, and the reason I say that is because with Tom Brady, when he was with New England, whether you're a New England fan or not, I was watching that going like, holy shit, we're never gonna see this level six. This is a generational level of success, winning those seven Super Bowl rings, right? With Max winning five championships in a row, it's not really a generational level of success because that just came off the back of a run by Lewis Hamilton where he has won seven championships. But just to see um, a driver at the peak of their performance, I almost cherished it, even though I'm not a Red Bull fan, because it's like once Max decides to retire, which he said he's only got until 2028 left, and I don't think he plans on coming back. Who knows when we're going to see a stretch of dominance like Max had again? Maybe another driver will take over. Maybe it could be 50 years. Who knows? So I'm gonna take it in while it's on the table for us.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It can get tiresome watching the same person win over and over again. But when they do something like Max is doing this year, and again, I would never claim to be a big Formula One fan or have intimate knowledge of the sport like many other people, no one included. But when you see somebody like Max, who just clearly is in a worse piece of machinery, as you say, is not driving a car that is up to the standard of a McLaren and having the level of success that he's having, you do kind of have to relish the fact that you're watching a performance that doesn't come around super often. That being said, I think personally, I would like to see Lando get it done because it is always fun to see new people win, especially like you said, coming off a run where two guys have really dominated the sport over the last 10 plus years, obviously at different stages, but yeah, two guys have really carried the mantle and pulled out most of the wins. So I think it'd be cool for Lando to win it. We will see what happens, but yeah, maybe we'll have to get Mike on after the Formula One championship's over and see see what he
Yeah.
thinks about the whole thing.
Yeah, hopefully, if you guys out there are a fan of guests, let us know who you want us to have on, who you want us to have back on. I'll just kind of do a little teaser.
Go for it.
There's been some talks about maybe having Steph back. There's been some talks about maybe having Ben back. I'd love to have Mike on, although I don't think Jude's gonna get too many words in that episode. Um, but yeah, just let us know. Comments on who your favorite guest was. If there's anyone we mentioned, that'd be cool to have on. Victor Mancini, perhaps. Just whatever you wanna, yeah, whatever you wanna toss out there.
You know,
No,
he hasn't been playing many games recently, so maybe it's a good time. But
yeah, there we go.
yeah, anyways,
Uh,
I guess we're getting pretty deep into it, but should we I was thinking maybe we can do a little bit of Olympic talk here. I know we've touched on it before, but these two kids, man, Celebrini and Bedard, they are
oh, I was thinking Olympics in a completely different way, but you go first.
I just have to say, these two guys, man, Celebrini and Bedard, they're tied for second in league scoring right now at 37 points. They are doing nothing as the season goes on to diminish their case for the Olympics. And I think as the season's going on, it's going to be pretty hard for Team Canada management to make a compelling case that one of these guys should not crack the roster.
Yeah, I think we kind of well, you've always been a Macklin Celebrini guy from day one, and a couple episodes ago, I definitely came around to the idea of Macklin Celebrini being on the roster. I still wasn't sure if I was comfortable with Connor Bedard on there, just because he is so inexperienced. But what he's doing out on the ice, like he's equaling Celebrini's run, and guys are on two teams that you would have figured would be bottom feeder teams that are being remotely competitive. And these are two guys that are also driving the play. Like they don't have a lot of help around them. It's not like they're playing with number one centers and all they got to do is go to the net. Like these are the sole players responsible for acquiring the points and driving the play and the success of their teams. I don't want to say sole players responsible for the success of the team. I shouldn't have said that because it's a team sport. There's a lot of moving pieces, but in terms of how the goals are being scored, these guys are both play drivers. So if I'm doing Team Canada at this point, both these guys are on my roster. The interesting thing is who do you take out?
Yeah, if we're going off the Four Nations roster, I think an easy omission is Travis Konechny. Um, Not that he wasn't a good pick for Four Nations last year, but I think he's pretty clearly been surpassed by a number of guys going forward. Sam Bennett, while I think he's kind of a shoo-in, hasn't really had the type of season offensively that would ensure his place. I think it might come down to him or Wilson if they want to go with a bit of toughness. Because John Cooper's the coach, I think Hagel and Sorelli do have a foot in the door in that sense. But either of them, I think I would take one of the young guys over. I mean, Bedard 4 points the other night to vault himself back into second in the league and scoring. He showed a bit of grit too, chirping the bench after he scored the empty netter. I love to see that. Um, yeah, I think Canada, all in all, there's no shortage of good options. The team's going to be fine. Um, and yeah, which is a nice fact, I guess, to give us peace of mind as Canada hockey fans that going forward and after Crosby and that generation are kind of completely whittled out, Canada still going forward has the best top end talent in the world.
Yeah, and I both Hagel and Sorelli on my preseason predictions for the Olympic roster. I know you just had Hagel, but both those guys, like they're having good seasons. Hagel's 27 points right now. I believe Sorelli's 17, so Sorelli's just under a point per game, but I think you keep Sorelli there for his defensive prowess and ability and his ability to win faceoffs. He's really good in the circle. He's showing in his numbers. I know plus minus is a really skewed stat at times, but he is plus 16 right now on the season. So Anthony Sorelli, I could still see making that team. Brandon Hagel for sure, I think is a lock for that team, especially like you mentioned, knowing who the management and the coaching staff is going to be. And on top of that, Tampa's absolutely flying right now. They just had an abysmal start to the season, but they've absolutely turned it around. I believe they're 8-0-2 in their last 10 games. They've won seven in a row. Like, aside from Colorado, that's been in a class of their own. Tampa may be the most dangerous team in hockey right now, and a big part of that is Hagel and Sorelli.
Yeah, you just said they've pulled off a pretty awesome run, seven straight. They've launched themselves into first in the Atlantic, sitting at 34 points. So Tampa, definitely looking out for them in playoffs. I think they have more than enough top end talent to get it done. It seems like the depth pieces and maybe some of the defensemen that were causing them some struggles early on have started to figure it out. Obviously, they have Vasilevsky, so anytime you have a number one goalie, that's going to help you a lot, especially going into the playoffs, knowing you can ride on that number one guy. I think the thing about going back to the Olympics, Bedard's a plus 10 on the season. Um, so, like you said, it's a skewed stat, but from a guy that has a career plus minus very, very far into the minuses this year, it's not only the offensive production that has kind of taken a step up. I think it's just the overall competitiveness and the commitment to defense, which when your top players are doing that, I mean that trickles down into every other guy on your team. So it's going to be really, really fun to follow it the rest of the season and see the decision that Team Canada management makes in the U.S. too. I mean, they've got a million players that could maybe make that team. Obviously, that's a hyperbole, but too many good options to fill the rosters with. So all in all, just cannot wait for the Olympics. Have you seen actually that the stadium might not be ready though? That is a problem.
Oh, I've not seen that. No, is Milan not up to par with their regulations on the stadium, or what's going on with that?
So yes, the city of Milan, they had to build a fully new because they didn't have a 20,000 plus seat hockey arena, just waiting in Italy, obviously, not a big hockey country traditionally. So they had to build an arena from scratch. And what I read was that typically a year before the Olympics start, the Olympic Committee will hand the arena over to the city and let them use it and kind of test it out and make sure that it's going to be good to go. Not only the ice and the facilities, but the concessions, the bathrooms, all that sort of stuff, making sure that it's good to
Parking,
go.
transportation, security, I imagine those are all logistics they got to figure out.
Exactly. So all kind of the background stuff that you wouldn't think of first. The arena, as of right now, isn't even done construction in terms of the building. So I think that's making people sweat a little bit, for sure, because the IOC has come out and said that there's no backup plan. Like this is the arena. So we might be going into Olympics with NHLers for the first time in an arena that they're going to have no time to test run. Um, so hopefully all the stuff outside of the actual games itself isn't just an absolute gong show because you never know how that might impact future Olympics going forward. Um, but yeah, so best of luck to the people in charge of the Milan Cortina Olympics, especially in terms of hockey, that they can get this done and make sure that there aren't any roadblocks in terms of the success.
No, that I wonder because Italy's not that far removed from hosting a Winter Olympics. Like in 2006, it was in Turin. And I don't know a whole lot about Italian ice hockey infrastructure. I'm not going to pretend to know, but I wonder what arena they used for that Olympics, if that was a new build as well, or if it was a pre-existing arena. Maybe the national team already played there. Like, I'm not sure. But you think that a nation that hosted this event within the last 25 years would know what it takes to bring everything together, including the construction of venues. So I didn't know that the arena wasn't going to be ready, but that makes me very surprised hearing that just based on Italy's history with previously hosting a Winter Olympics.
It is slightly shocking, given how much time they've had to prepare for this, that it's coming down to the wire like this. I think everybody's hoping it gets done, and obviously the IOC said there's no backup plan. They want to exude as much faith and confidence as they can in the current plan, but I don't know, like if the arena's not ready, I don't think Batman's just gonna be like, oh yeah, we'll go send our players into an arena that might have part of the fucking roof falling down on our guys in the middle of an
Oh,
overtime or something. Like I think it would probably be prudent of them to find another arena, even if it isn't in one of those cities that would be suitable for giant events like this.
I wonder. Give me a second here. Hold on. Okay, yeah. So I just took a look, and the largest stadium, if they were to play in a different one, and I don't know the difference. I assume it's not possible to travel from Milan to Turin in a timely fashion for the Olympics, but the largest stadium is the Olympic ice hockey arena that was used for the Turin Olympics, and it actually opened December of 2005. It was a brand new stadium that they built for that. And it seems like they cut that one close pretty close as well. Because as we know, the Olympics are in February. So if that one just opened December of 2005, that means they only had 2 months before the Olympics to test that one out. So maybe Italy's just got some slow construction workers. Like I don't know, maybe that's one of their part of their national identity.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of red tape stuff going on in Italy impacting the building process, but all in all, I hope it goes on without any hiccups and it's a good place to host hockey games. It looks cool from the outside. It looks like it's going to be a nice arena, but definitely cutting it closer than I'm sure they would like and closer than the NHL would like. I think nothing's going to impact the players going over this year. Or I guess I should say next year, but going forward, I mean, this is like you said, kind of just ridiculous that it's gotten down to this point. They've known for so long that there's going to be Olympic hockey there, and to not have an arena built, you're kind of behind the eight ball, not having a facility already there. So it is a little surprising to me that they would have taken the gamble of leaving things this late.
And the other thing I want to bring up, just because it is Olympic related, and I want your take on this, um, as a former player yourself, not a former Olympian, but a former hockey player. Although that'd be pretty cool if you were an Olympian. Um, Lian Bichsel banned from the Swiss national team until I believe it's the end of 2026, so he will miss the Olympics, and I just kind of want your take on that. I don't know if you've heard of that situation or not, but for those who haven't, I can shed some light. In the World Junior Championships, I believe this was 2021, I may have that year wrong. He declined to play for the Swiss national team after being invited to the World Junior tournaments. And his reasoning was because he was just coming off of surgery for an injury and he wanted to limit the number of games he was playing. So he chose to reserve his playing for his pro team in Sweden. I believe that was Rogel BK in Sweden. That was the year of his draft year. And the Swiss national team banned him because they have a rule in their institution that if you decline to play for the national team after an invite, well, guess what? You're not coming back for 5 years. So my take is like, what are our thoughts on this? And in the media, they said the leadership group, including other NHL players like Nino Niederreiter and Roman Josi, support the decision to not have him at the Olympics. And like on one hand, I totally get it. Like if you're Switzerland, you want to incentivize every top Swiss player to represent their national team at every level. On the other hand, this is the first time NHL players are back at the Olympics since 2014, and Sweden, or not, sorry, not Sweden, Switzerland, doesn't have the deepest roster in the world, especially not on the back end, and so you're losing essentially a top pair defenseman for that team.
I didn't know anything about this before you brought it up yesterday. I hadn't heard anything about this. Based on what I know of it, it sounds like an absolutely ridiculous decision from the Swiss Olympic team when it comes to hockey. Like you said, this guy's an NHL player. I think the Swiss, more than a lot of teams, are going to be hurting for National Hockey League representation on their Olympic roster. And especially due to the fact that the guy was injured and he's coming off saying like, look, I don't want to risk anything else. I've got more important games right now than the World Championships, I believe you said it was that he skipped.
It was the
Um,
World Juniors.
World Juniors. Okay. Even still, I mean, yeah, obviously, like I'm a first round NHL pick. I want to make sure I'm as good as I can be for my NHL club. This sounds like a ridiculous decision to me, and the fact that, as you said, Nino Niederreiter and other Swedish top or sorry, Swiss top players said that they supported the decision. I truly cannot fathom the reasoning on this. I mean, you're cutting yourself off at the knees, really getting rid of a guy that would probably be an impact player for that team in the Olympics. And I mean, the Swiss, I'm looking at them as a team that possibly could get Do they have relegation in the Olympics? I think they do, right? You have to qualify if you're one of those bottom teams.
You have to qualify. I don't know if it's the same relegation system that they would have for the World Championships
Right.
and the World Juniors. For those who don't know about that system, the bottom two teams in the tournament play each other in a playoff, and then the losing team is bumped down to the B pool of international hockey, and the top B pool team gets bumped up for the following year's World Juniors or World Championship. I don't think the Olympics happen quite that way because it's every 4 years and um, not every single year, and the strength of teams can change more drastically over a 4 year span. But you do have to qualify. It's not an automatic.
Right. Okay, so even still, that being said, I feel like for the Olympics, even if they did have that rule where if you decline a national team invite, you get banned for 5 years. I would think for the biggest international event in any calendar year for hockey, you might make an exception to that rule when it's a guy that would probably play a massive role, not only 5-on-5, but on your penalty kill. He's a young guy that would be able to take this experience forward and maybe provide you future success in Olympics and other international competitions. So I'm sure he's absolutely bummed out as he should be. And yeah, I just don't really think that's a very prudent move from Swiss hockey management.
Yeah. And like in terms of relegation, I don't think they have too much to worry about because I imagine one of the teams that will heavily struggle in the tournament is the Italian team, as well as the Norwegians who weren't originally going to qualify for the tournament, but because Russia will not be represented at the Olympics, that gave the next best team a spot in the tournament, which was Norway. Um, I'm kind of 50-50 on this. Like I understand the culture that you're trying to build with the young players, wanting them to represent their national team at the highest level and be involved with that program. I also understand why guys like Yossi and Niederreiter would support the decision. That's your leadership group. You want to build a unified front between NHL players versus the majority of that roster that's still playing over in Europe. What I don't get is the part where he was coming off an injury. I think there needs to be a little caveat that if it's for the players' personal health or well-being, it's okay if he doesn't show up to this tournament. Like if he has a long-term injury or if he gets surgery that year and he declines to play for the national team, then I'm like, you know what? Okay, cool. Valid reason he's looking after his health.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I think this will be a decision that probably comes back to bite them, but we'll have to find out in February. So tune in, everybody.
Yeah, and then just speaking of the Olympics, I think of two teams right now that are both kind of trending in the upward direction in the National Hockey League. Again, Team USA, they may have to make some decisions about defensemen because both Washington and Minnesota have been doing very well in the recent stretch of games. The last 10 games, they both have fairly good records. Brock Faber slowly looking like the old Brock Faber again. Like he's got 6 goals on the season, which is pretty good for a defenseman of his stature, especially on a team without as many offensive weapons outside of Kirill. Obviously, Kirill's a very strong producer of offense. And then on Washington, on the other side, this team's really confusing to me because on one hand they're winning games. Jacob Chikrin is playing out of his mind. John Carlson also looks fantastic. Like I think those two guys are definitely in the conversation as well as Faber for Olympic spots. But then you look at Washington's power play and penalty kill, and their special teams are just atrocious. And I'm like, I don't know what's more impressive that they're winning games. Like, should I be impressed that they're winning games with this atrocious special teams, or should I be concerned? Like, I don't know. It's kind of impressive. What if their power play does get going? How much better are they going to be? Like, I believe their penalty kills ranked like 29th in the league when I last looked. Maybe it's 28th now, but either way, just kind of couple points quickly on those two teams. Those defensemen are all searching for Olympic spots, and Washington's finding a way to win with having terrible special teams.
Yeah, the power play is currently ranked 27th and the penalty kill 29th, which is abysmal. And normally that will place a team very low in the standings if they are not sublime at 5-on-5. So I think it makes a better case for both of those guys, Carlson and Chikrin, to potentially find their way onto the Team USA roster. Chikrin as he scores at will, man, from the defensive position. It's kind of insane to see. He's the last couple of years, anyways, last year and this year, he's been top three in goals from a D-man, and just definitely drives a lot of plays. Great skater, has good vision. Carlson, I think, might have a bit it might be a bit more of a long shot to make it, just given the age and how many other options they're going to have on the right side. Um, but I think they're both like kind of like the two young guys celebrating Bedard. The longer the season goes and the longer they play at this level, the better their chances are going to be. Um, but yeah, Washington, if they can find a way to tighten it up a little bit in terms of special teams, I could definitely see them being a contender this year. They've got Logan Thompson, who again is playing lights out this season. Overall, their team, they've got top end talent, they've got depth, they've got grit. And I think everybody, honestly, watching the NHL would love to see Ovechkin compete for another cup in what is potentially the last year of his career. So Washington's a good team to watch the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carlson's just right under a point per game right now. He's also got 6 goals. Washington's won 4 in a row. You mentioned Logan Thompson. That obviously won't help your power play, but that'll definitely help your penalty kill because Logan Thompson is kind of locking in the starting spot for Team Canada, in my opinion. So I guess that's another Olympic hopeful we can mention. Same kind of thing, I guess, in Minnesota. It's a lot easier for Brock Faber and the other defensemen in Minnesota to do their job when they have Jesper Wallstedt playing absolutely out of his mind, likely to get a starting role for Team Sweden. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I think those are all guys that are going to be competing for the roster spots. And in my mind, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know what side these guys play on. I have not looked into him as much to know that, but just going off of pure how they performed this year, I think I would take Chychrun and Carlson over Faber. That being said, you mentioned the right side, so if all those guys play on the right side, I don't know how deep the Team USA lineup is.
Yeah, well, quickly, the thing about Chikrin that's advantageous is that he's a left-handed shot, but a lot of the time he does play the right side. He's really good at playing his offhand side, which kind of gives you some added versatility. And on a team like the U.S. Olympic team or Canadian Olympic team, one of these like top-end powers, anybody that can serve multiple roles or kind of give you that flexibility, I think is going to have an advantage. And the last thing I kind of want to add here on in terms of Washington, Charlie Lindgren has played 8 games this year as the backup goaltender. Thompson's played 17, and Charlie Lindgren has led in 27 goals in those 8 games to Logan Thompson's 35 goals allowed in 17 games. So that might be having an impact on the penalty kill a little bit. I haven't dived into the stats. Too much, but just looking at that number, I feel like maybe Lindgren, his overall stats are also kind of abysmal. 886 save percentage and a 312 goals against. So I feel like he might be
Ooh, that's close to
negatively,
Calvin Pickard territory.
yeah. So he might be negatively impacting their penalty kill a lot harder than Logan Thompson is, maybe swaying the overall numbers a bit.
That's fair. That's a lot of games for Logan Thompson so far.
Yeah.
And like to be fair, you're going to play your better goalie, but that's going to be a lot of hockey by the end of the year. Yeah, well, thank you, all our viewers and listeners for tuning in. Let us know what you think of the Winter Classic. Let us know why you don't like Florida Panthers fans, those bandwagoners. Let us know what finals you're more excited for, maybe some predictions, your Olympic roster. We love when you interact with us. Quick shout out to downtown Lori Brown. Hope you have a great day, Lori. And thank you for tuning in.
Hell yeah. Make sure to like everything that we put out. Subscribe if you want. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully with the Whitecaps as champions.